Okay, so innovate on time is that core message. It's also our promise as a company. We'll not only help you innovate, we will do it on time. If we do not do that, they have every right to be pissed at us, right? It's our guarantee, okay? Now, if you add a couple words in front of that, it changes the meaning. Like, are you, innovating on time? That's a message of like, if you don't do that, your company could die, and we can tell stories. Again, we're always telling stories about companies that didn't innovate on time, were able to innovate on time, and how we helped people innovate on time. Those are the key. This allows us to tell historical stories. This allows us to tell kind of current stories, and this allows us to kind of celebrate the heroes, which are the people we work with. Then you have, like, again, a couple more words. We have innovated on time, and that's how we can always, like, we helped Hitachi innovate on time. We helped Mazda innovate on time. That's how we end our blog posts. That's how we end our keynotes or whatever we're doing. If we're doing a case study and it ends with, and we're so glad that we were able to help Hitachi innovate on time. It's our message, it's our promise, it's the core, and by just switching a couple words at the beginning and the end, it changes the meaning completely. Make sense? If we had t-shirts that, like, if we had a flag on top of our building, it would say, innovate on time, right? And some people read it as, oh man, I better innovate, and other people read it as, that's not possible, and then we get to come in and be the hero and say, yes, you can do that. This is also part of why we're laying out our process on our website. Remember, this is our website, okay? Beginning, this is like innovate on time, right? This is our message. This is what we're about. All right, great. Proposal, right? Our proposal is that you can innovate and you can do it on time, right? So we need to propose that and say, like, it's a myth that innovation has to take a long time, cost too much money, and always run over whatever, right? All right, now I have to argue for it. Middle of the page, argue for it, right? The reason these things happen, the reason why it goes over is because we don't have a clear process, we don't have a clear business goal, we don't have whatever. Here's how we fix all those problems, right? And then proposal, argument, conclusion is that if I work with these guys, I can innovate on time, right? So when we talk about our process goes in the middle of the page. You could also have like a CTA in between these. Over here, this is our manifesto of, like, we know innovation is important. We know if we don't innovate, our companies are going to die. We also know innovation is hard, costly, and a lot of people don't do it because they're worried it will run over, right? That's all changed. It's all changed because we have a system that allows us to not only innovate, but to do it on time. Let me show you that system. We make our argument for that system, and the conclusion should be, if you're ready to start innovating, if you're ready to start pushing to AR, VR, AI, whatever, contact us and we will get back to you on time. I mean, that's always our thing, is time, right? When we have an answer where it's like, imagine it's like somebody sends a request email, immediately get an email back and say, my name is Deepak, thank you so much for your email, I'm processing right now, you will have an answer back in the next 6 hours. If we owned that kind of crazy, like, time stuff, where everything wasn't always just like by tomorrow, it's always like by 6 p.m., by 1 o'clock, like whatever, we own time. And if we own time, that's our differentiation.
So can you also give the perspective of how we can use it to acquire customers?
Oh,
which is the message.
Yeah.
You have those 4 or 5 step process where you're talking about the message, content, and delivery, and then the channels, right?
Yeah, so you're talking about the actual, like, story?
Yes.
Okay, so this is how we tell a story. Once upon a time there was a company that made a horse and buggy, right? And every day they sold less and less horse and buggies, right? Until one day they heard about a car, right? It makes sense. And because of this, they started changing their business model to making cars instead of horse and buggies. And because of this, their business started growing again, until finally they stopped selling horse and buggies. And ever since that day, they've been a car company, right? Like, this is just a basic way to tell cars. Our story is always, once upon a time there was a company pretty much that needed to innovate and didn't know how. Like, that will be our story. And then we go through, and until one day they met us, and because of that, they were allowed to innovate. And not only innovate, but they were able to do it on time and on budget. Until finally they launched the product, and it started a whole new division, started a whole new life in the company, created new perspective, whatever the big thing is. It's always like, we show up here, right? Up here is these people wanting to innovate but not knowing how. We come in, we help them innovate, and ever since that day, they've been able to innovate and they've been able to do it on time.
They've been able to lead. They were
That's
going
exactly
down
right.
and
Yeah.
they're coming back, or
That's
they
right.
were never been, you know, yeah.
Right. Stories work through contrast. It only works. Big has to be. You have to be. It looks big next to something small, right? So in order for the change to matter at Hitachi or Mazda, is if we first set up, you know, salespeople, they didn't have a specific. Nobody knew how to tell the story, and salespeople were changing jobs all the time, and there was a mess. Guy couldn't even go on the way on 4th of July. Then he met us, until finally he met us, right? And we helped him innovate by creating a sales process that all you needed to do was a tablet, and all of a sudden it went from a 3-hour-long sales process to 20 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And we helped them not only do that, but we helped them build that entire system in less than whatever, right?
So how do you communicate this message? I remember you showed the model. That's what I want to share to the people,
So this is,
share with the team. Yeah.
So this is the model for marketing. Starts with the beliefs and values, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is it. We believe you can innovate and do it on time, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no flexibility. No, it doesn't say, we believe you can innovate, but, you know, sometimes you're on time, sometimes you're not. You have to make a statement. We believe you can innovate in time. What's our strategy, right, in order to tell that story? What's our strategy to connect with other people that are looking for that? The customers that are going to love us are the ones that are like, I've been doing this for 15 years and I've never one time had somebody come in on time. And we deliver it the first project, they comes in on time, they're going to be like, I love you forever. Those are the people we're looking for. And that's why our messaging to those people and email marketing, whatever we're doing, should be very pointed. Like, are you tired of, having these projects go over, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that is interesting to them because those are the people, like the person you just explained me, who's like, I don't know, we were 2 months over and nobody even sees the end of it. That's the guy we want to talk to because he's going to be willing to take a risk on us because he's like, I'm screwed anyways. You know what I'm saying? So, we believe this. What's our strategy for communicating that as clearly as we can, right? You know, the clearest way for us to say it is just by saying it, right? No fancy comic book characters or whatever. Just use the words. We can help you innovate and we can do it on time, and then you got to prove it, whatever. Then you have to make content. Content is how you solve the problem. What is the problem? We need new customers. You know, we need to get new customers. We create content. Content that proves what? Proves this, right? Makes sense? And then you got to distribute that content. Who do you distribute that content? You distribute that content to people that also believe this, but have never experienced it. The people that go, this is bullshit. I know for a fact we could implement AR, VR, AI, whatever. I don't understand why everybody I work with doesn't do what they say they're going to do. I know it's possible. Am I just crazy? Those are the people we're looking for, just like the customer you just told me about. And again, when they find us, not only are they going to love us, but they're going to tell other friends about us. And guess what their friends do? They are probably CTOs at other companies also. Make sense? That's what we get known for. You know what I mean? We deliver type of thing. And then you analyze. And this is where you start using data to go like, hey, I sent out these emails. You know what I found out? When I sent out the emails, whatever, between 5 and 5:30, they had a higher open rate. Great, that's super helpful. That helps us sharpen our message. From timing and look and feel and different things like that. But our core conviction has to still stay the same. Core conviction is around this main message, right? This is what we stand for. We're not only always going to stand for innovation, whatever the new thing is, we need to be on top of it, but also the secondary thing, we're going to deliver on time, we're going to do what we say we're going to do. That's what makes us different, is that we not only innovate, but we do it on time. Make sense? Simple, simple, simple. Always keep it simple. The emails, the advertising, they can be as simple as David Ogilvy, father of modern advertising. White background, black text works. It still works. The email could seriously just be white background, black text. The hardest part about all advertising is what does the text say? You would now have a story, right? And then you just simply tell that story. Proposal. Do you think it's possible to be able to not only innovate but bring it on time and on budget, right? Argument. This is a reason why that hasn't happened before, right? But why we can do that. Conclusion. If you want to innovate and do it on time, contact Deepak, right? And this is the basic proposal, argument, conclusion, and we want them to now believe, right, that you can innovate and do it on time if you contact us. Make sense?
See, one thing is that we are targeting the CIOs.
Mm-hmm.
They usually don't see the emails. So what we are looking at is maybe more towards LinkedIn. But
Oh yeah, that makes
what is your experience of dealing with CXOs? What is the right model which will work for a enterprise, solution? What we are offering?
direct. When you talk about any C-suite, if you were to say like, what's I'd be like, they want you to just be like, what is it? What do you got? You got a new kind of toothbrush that helps? What do you got? You got a new whatever rings for my machines? What do you got? Just give it me. It's like, here's what we do. We help you innovate, right? And we do it on time. What does that mean? It means that that's our promise. And if we don't do it, we're actually not going to charge you. What are you talking about? Okay, so you guys fly by night? No, we've done it for Hitachi, we've done it for Monster, we've done it for this guy. Bottom line is, when you work with us, we do what we say we're going to do, and we get you over, or we're going to tell you that beforehand that it's not possible. Right? It's interesting. It's just be super, super upfront. That's why I'm saying, like, black text, like, background, like, in my experience, it's never gone wrong for me to not go in with, like, big dog and pony show, but just to be like, this is what we know we can do. And then you go, now make it applicable to them as fast as possible. Specifically for you, Microsoft or Google or whoever you're talking to, this is what we think you can do, right? Like this. I'd be interested in something like that, but what is that going to cost me, $10 million and take a year? We think we can pull that off for $250,000 and we can have it up in 30 days. If we don't do it, don't pay us. That's a really hard thing to say no to. And if you do that for them one time, they will love you forever, right? And it's like, what's the sunk cost, the hard cost on that? 50 grand? Would you pay 50 grand to be in the Google, ecosystem? What's the lifetime value of that deal, right? I'm just saying if you fail. The funny thing is if you pull it off, you're golden for a very long time. Make sense? Nobody else is going and doing that. Everybody else is hedging their bets. Because they have to. Because they know it's going to fail. And they're going to give... This is the classic thing where you go like, and on bids, people will underbid, knowing that they're going to come back around and get them on the other side of the deal and all this other stuff, right? And then people come and be like, I'm not underbidding, this is what it will cost, right? And then they actually give them the real numbers. These people have played all these games before. Like, that's what I'm just saying. It's what you have going for you now is you at least have something that's interesting. It's hard to ignore, right? Like, it's still hard for me to remember the name of the company right now. 8X, right?
Audix Labs.
Audix, right. It's still hard for me to remember that, right? Like, it's pretty easy to remember stuff like this. And again, I'm dyslexic. There's other people who remember things way better than me. I'm just saying, like, I know what this means, and there's a promise there, and it has a perspective and a message. And my whole thing is your marketing is just communicating as clearly as you can who you are and what you're about to the right people in the right place at the right time. Our right people now, we've just identified them. People that know they need to do this, right, but don't know how to do it like this. And that's where we create value, and that's why that's a good business relationship. That makes sense?